Madeline C. Gerwick is an international recognized business economic personal astrologer, speaker, and author. She has a BA degree with honors in economics, and she's listed in several Who's Who books, including Who's Who in the World. She annually writes the Good Timing Guide, Time Codes for Success, and she is a contributing author in the business anthology, Einstein's Business, Engaging the Soul, Imagination, and Excellence in the Workplace. She also co-authored The Complete Idiot's Guide to Astrology, available from Penguin Group. She hosted her own weekly radio show for over 5 years with the Dr. Pat Show. She is heard on the first Friday of each month on the Jeff Rentz Show. She has taught prosperity training to business people and professionals since 2002. Her company, Polaris Business Guides, is a consulting and training firm which guides organizations, individuals to prosper by working in harmony with the universe. Hey, Madeline.
How you doing?
I'm so happy you are here.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. After today, it's So just to let the viewers know before we start this, we are actually recording this on December 28th of 18. So just so you know, Madeline is also one of my personal advisors, and I have not made a move without considering her guide, which I dearly love. I think everybody in the world should have one. And her newsletters are just like remarkable. So anyway, this is the guide here. See, I use it all the time. And then when I had my reading I did put my notes in the back at the very I put it right here. But it's such a cool product. I love this. It has made such a difference in the way I navigate my week or even my month. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, I think one of the biggest pieces of information that most people are missing is that time has different qualities. And so each day has different possibilities in terms of success or failure. And that's something that we're not typically told. We're not usually advised in some way that, hey, this is a good day and this is not a good day, or this is a sort of so-so, not so great day, but you could still get something done, you know. So that's the sort of thing that the guide is showing people. The Good Timing Guide is showing people that, you know, there's a difference in the quality of time for each day. You might still have 24 hours, but there's different possibilities available for each and every day. And no day ever repeats in billions of years. No, you know, the same cycles, the same energies are not going to repeat.
Yeah. It's
you know, so.
Like a one of a kind timing. Always, each day is completely different than the other. I love the way you break it up into starts and finishes, and you know, don't make phone calls, and it's good time to market, and money. You know, money signals like
yeah.
Spend money here on marketing. You know, I just love the way you do it. It's so practical and so easy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the idea, is to make it readily understandable to anyone who doesn't know astrology, because most astrology symbols are not known by anyone. Very few of us can read astrology symbols and understand what they mean. So it's just simplified, it's color coded so people can figure out, hey, it's a good day for this, or not so good day for that, or it's really made easy.
And you know what? That kind of speaks really to the title of the show, you know, activate your life through astrology, but create ease, balance, and abundance, you know, in a rapidly changing world. So this is, you know, I can't say enough. But I wanted to ask you a few questions specifically, you know, because I get your newsletters. I know without a doubt you are watching everything that's changing so quickly.
Yes, I am.
Yes, I mean, you're really on top of it. So now this is the end of January. We're on, you know, December 28th, and then by the time this is aired, it will be sometime between February 18th and March 1st. So I'm just wondering, I mean, from what I see, you know, from what I've heard from other people, and even talking to you particularly, there's so much potential for a disruption, and something that will happen potentially globally, and at least within our lives, that's going to rattle our cage and create some fear and chaos. And so how do you recommend, because you kind of know exactly what's going on, you're so good with forecasting and stuff, how do you recommend that when these things inevitably are going to happen to us, by the time we watch this, how can we, from going forward, how can we, put ourselves at ease and flow and, step out of the fear and the chaos?
Well, first of all, we're entering a period of breakdown. Saturn is going to conjunct Pluto during 2019, but it won't actually peak until January of 2020. So all of 2019 is a period when we're going to have a breakdown of unsustainable structures. And a lot of these are power structures that have been put in place for years and years, but they're not working anymore because they're so corrupt. And so we should expect to see pretty major changes to a lot of these major types of things, like the Federal Reserve, the US dollar, the US debt, the European Union, things like the International Monetary Fund, the United Nations, the World Bank, even the World Economic Forum, I think is going to be quite a surprise this year in January. So we should expect to see pretty major changes throughout the year that are going to impact all of these systems and institutions that are so corrupt. And what I like to remind people of is that the reason these things are falling apart is because they're unsustainable. And it's better to let these things fall apart so that they can be replaced with something that's in integrity and is more appropriate. And something that, we're going through this very major period of a total of 40 years that started in 2000 to change over the entire economy and to transform the economy to something that's sustainable. So that would mean you would have to essentially change over most of what we are accustomed to. And so when things start falling apart, I like to think of it as just like when you're going to remodel a house and you're going to go down to the plumbing and you're going to change the wiring. So it gets kind of messy in the beginning, things look worse for a while you're tearing down those walls and putting in the plumbing and putting in new wiring and upgrading the Wi-Fi and all this stuff. And then it gradually gets better. And so it'll get better in 2020 when we start implementing new types of programs and institutions. But first you have to go through the breakdown. And that's what 2019 is about. And, we don't want to resist these changes because they're helpful to us. Even though we may not realize it at the beginning, there's no point in letting the criminals run the world. We need to arrest the criminals. We need to redo the financial system. We need to, change the whole trade situation. The World Trade Organization, there's another corruption. You see, all these things are corrupt, and all we've been doing is, kind of sitting back and saying, oh, it's, they know what they're doing. Yeah, they know what they're doing. They're criminals, and they're running the world into the ground, to their benefit, but not our benefit. So, as these things start falling apart, I think it's great because you're just going to see, if people are awake and understand that this is to our benefit to let these things go and rebuild something that's in high integrity. That's really the focus that people should maintain, is that we're going to build something better in high integrity. And you can't do that while the criminals are running around running the world. So
it's true.
You know, we should
So
just be happy that they're going to be arrested.
just be happy. Just find the joy in things that
Yeah.
are corrected.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Find the joy in the correction.
Yeah, in the correction and the changes that are occurring. These are magnificent changes because, you know, there's more light on Earth now than there has ever been. I mean, there was a time, there have been, I can't even think of another year where this could have happened.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't enough light on the planet, and now there is. And so this is really a victory for the light.
I love that. That's good. That's comforting. That's very comforting.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, just don't
Yeah.
resist the change. Don't resist it. Just go with it.
Yeah, because these changes are for our benefit. And they're in favor of the light. For the first time ever, these changes are in favor of the light.
So this is for the world. Okay, this is what we're talking about for the world. For us personally, these are going to be going through our own, our own natal charts. How does it? How do you think it's going to affect us personally?
Personally, okay. Well, when Saturn, it depends on the person's chart, of course. Saturn conjunct Pluto is about transforming structures. So in some portion of every person's life, there's going to be a set of structures that they are transforming in their life. And it depends on where that aspect is occurring in their chart and what houses the Saturn and Pluto rule in their chart. So those areas are subject to having transformation occur. And sometimes these things might be, I mean, if somebody loses a house as an example, that's a structure. It may seem pretty horrendous that they lost a house, but perhaps that house wasn't the right place for them to be anymore. You know, there's always this situation where people age and their needs are a little bit different. Maybe they have a different set of people in their home, maybe they need to accommodate somebody in a wheelchair or something like that. Or maybe they have a baby or something, that's different than they've had in the past. And so maybe what they end up with is a situation that's better. You see what I'm saying? They get a different house, insurance covers the house and they get a different house that's more appropriate for their needs at the moment. But it may take some time because, there's insurance, there's finding another house, there's probably something related to jobs in there, you see. So it's a transition, but it's maybe not, overnight. It takes probably some months to get all that to happen.
And then, so in that case, you're advised to step into ease and abundance, and everything would be just, again, to go with it.
Go with it.
Just know that you just go
with it. Yeah, you see, we're accustomed to believing that situations that we perceive as negative are kind of like the universe is punishing us in some way, right? We're getting whacked, so to speak. But actually, and there is a certain degree of us attracting the same energy that we're putting out, right? So if we're in worry and fear all the time, we're attracting things that bring more worry and more fear, right? But if instead we relax and see that the universe is trying to assist us, and we trust the universe to have our back, then you can relax and just say, okay, I know the universe is helping me, and let's just see what is trying to unfold here. So a lot of that requires trust, and in the old religions, we were taught to have faith, right? And that's the same as trusting. So it's a matter of believing and trusting and staying centered in your own well-being. As long as you're connected to your own well-being, to your higher self, you'll never be without enough money. You'll never be without abundance. You'll never be in a situation where you're unhealthy, you see. So you want to be connected. You want to stay connected to your own higher self, to that feeling of being well cared for and supported.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's great. That's great. Are there any other aspects that you see that are like really notable? I know there are, but you know, anything else
Well,
you'd like to speak to?
well, of course, the first few months of the year are quite traumatic, I guess would be the word,
Mhm.
because they're rough. I mean, I expect to see arrests or military tribunals occurring in the first couple of months. Um, there probably are, I would say, a lot of misinformation, confusion, deception, a lot of that going on February and March. And so people really need to tune in to their guts. They really need to check in. When they hear a story, they need to say, does that sound true? And a lot of times, the way we get deceived so easily is that the mainstream media will tell you maybe 70% of something that's truthful, and then the rest of it is not. You know, and so if you may think that the whole story is truthful because part of it sounded right. So you really almost have to test every part of a story now. And that's something I discovered kind of by accident. And so now if I, people who maybe pendulum or muscle test or whatever, or check in other ways, I always check to see what's the percentage of accuracy of a story. And if I don't get 100%, then I start checking to see which part was not true. So, there, and a lot of times I just can feel it as soon as I hear somebody say something. I just can feel it in my gut. That is not true. I just know it right then as soon as I hear it. And when I test it, it'll always come out, no, that's not true. So there's a lot, everybody has different ways of connecting in and choosing how they're going to process a story. And so I would say February and March, you really got to be extremely careful.
So what I'm hearing you say as far as your tip, other than the good timing guide, is just to really connect down to your body and don't, because I know I've got like this crazy Mercury thing going, and I'll hear one thing and then I'll just go like, really, 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 just go to this thought process, and whatever it is that I ingest doesn't ever really hit my gut.
Right. Right. So if you're not connected to your gut, that's why I like to tell people to just check in with your gut, because there actually has been a lot of scientific research about this, but your gut actually has a brain inside of it. It's got neuropeptides. So you actually have a brain inside of your gut, and oddly enough, your gut gets the information first. And the reason why is because your brain takes longer to process that same information, but the gut gets it figured out, boom, right away. So how sometimes you meet somebody and you have this like negative gut reaction? That was the right one. And then somebody will say, oh, but blah, blah, they'll give you 10 reasons why you shouldn't have that reaction, right? And then it'll turn out that, no, your gut was right to begin with, and you should have stuck with it, you see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so this stuff about second guessing yourself, that's crazy. That's totally nuts. Your gut knows right away. And science has proven it. And it's amazing. And yet we've been trained not to notice, you see. But if you will notice your body and how it's feeling when you're hearing a story, you'll learn a lot about how your body processes things. Some people tighten up their shoulders. Other people, their guts start wrenching, you see. And so it just depends on the person. But, a gut, it will tell you a lot because you've got neuropeptides down there. You've actually got a brain in your gut.
That's great information. I've always heard follow your gut, or, what is your heart saying, or something like that. But I didn't really put it that literally.
Well, and your heart is actually supposed to be the leader of your brain. If you actually can get your heart and brain into coherence, then that's when you're at your very best, is when you're in coherence with the two.
I just realized, that's so true. It is your gut brain. Because it's so funny. The reason I even came across you was through, I had done some training with Body Talk because of the astrology piece. And that's how I even came across you, was that somebody had recommended me from one of the practitioners that I learned under had told me about you.
Oh, wow.
And the good timing guide, and how they don't do anything without it. And that's like, your head brain, your heart brain, and your gut brain when you're tapping.
Yeah.
So that goes hand in hand. That's great. That's great. It all seems to kind of pull together.
Right.
Well, tell us about the gift that you're offering.
Okay. Well, because this is coming out sort of in the middle of February, or the latter part of it, I'm giving 2 free months of the Good Timing Guide, both February and March. So the Good Timing Guide is color coded, so you don't need to know any astrology. And there'll be a few pages in there that'll tell you how to use the guide and things like that. And so you'll get an easy way to test it out for yourself. And I should also tell people that if they prefer, and they can of course download that and print it, but some people are very attached to their phones, and they can actually go to either the App Store on an iPhone or Google Play on an Android and download 30 days for free of the Good Timing Guide app for free. And then after that, if you want more, you can pay for the rest of the year. But 30 days for free. And it's just, some of us are really attached to our phones.
Yeah.
And so it just makes it easy for me to have an app on my phone instead of having to carry something else.
Yeah, like one other thing. Yeah. Well, exactly. I know that I use this because I could write notes in it, but I also have the download, and now I'm just typing in my notes and stuff. So that's been very helpful. But you also do readings and consultations and all that stuff too, right?
Yes. Now, as a business astrologer, and some of your people might want to know about this, if they work in business, it's great to have a business consultation, because I can look at a business chart, meaning an astrology chart for when a business was started with the state, and tell you what's happening with that business. And that means in all aspects of it. And I can even tell you, what are the type of customers you ought to be addressing, who you should be marketing to, what the best ways to market are, what the best times are for you to be introducing something, or say if you're going to introduce a book or something like that. I do a lot of timings for people, for example, to introduce products or to launch a website. I do a lot of timings to start new companies so that they'll be financially successful and have high growth, and the energies are appropriate for the type of products and services they want to provide. So it's really a great investment for people, because the cost of one of those timings for a new company start is easily made up in a day's worth of work.
Wow.
So and you're going to hopefully run your business for a long time. See, so wouldn't it be nice to have good income for a long time? So there's that kind of thing. And then I also do what we call horary questions. So this is a great tool for people who have a very specific question. Should I hire this person? Should I make this investment? Should I buy this house? Should I go down and invest in this type of product line? So there are a lot of different ways to do this. I also use it for where is my lost whatever. and because I have to hear the question in order to time it, and I have to make sure it's asked in a certain way. It can't be emailed to me or left in a voicemail. We have to actually talk about it on the phone. And then I do a chart for the date and time that we agreed on what the question is, and the chart actually contains the answer. So a moment in time when you ask the right question contains the answer to the question.
I didn't realize you did horary.
Yeah, yeah, it's very useful for businesses. I mean, it's useful for other people too, but you know, it's very useful for businesses.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I never really knew how that worked. I don't know too much about it at all, so that's very interesting.
Well, it's a great tool. It's a great tool for a very specific question. Yeah. Because a lot of times you can see, okay, here's a time period where something positive is happening in terms of a product or service, but you may not be able to tell which product or service it is, because sometimes a company will be considering 2 or 3 different types of products, but they're all related in a certain way, and they would all be the same symbol in astrology, you see. So,
yes.
So then you really need a different tool to get to the specific of which of those 3 products or services is going to be the most successful, you see.
Wow.
So, yeah, so there's very good application for horary questions in business and for individuals too. So I do all of that, and I do personal astrology as well, because businesses are made up of people, and you don't know sometimes whether a major change is being sort of pushed from the personal side or pushed from the business side. Mm-hmm. You know, and so it's valuable to know both. And
how do you feel about people, human resources, using astrology to hire for companies?
You know, see, in the U.S., it's illegal to ask people's birth dates. See, so then that's why horary is valuable that way, because you know, maybe you have 2 or 3 strong contestants, and you can come in and say, well, should I hire Joe over here for this job? And then I can go and look at that and see, is Joe going to be successful at that job? And I don't have to have Joe's birth data or anything. See, so it sounds a little bit crazy in terms of, right? But it is very effective. It's a very effective tool. I like using it. It's very practical for a lot of the situations that business people encounter. You know, just as an example, a lot of times somebody is going to move to a new facility. So you can see they're going to have the move in their chart, but you can't see which facility is going to be the right one from just looking at their chart and their cycles, you see. Whereas they can call me up and say, you know, should I lease the property at, you know, ABC Street, you see. And then I can look and see, how's that going to work out? And it's amazing. It's really a very good tool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I've actually had people call me about asking, you know, should I buy this house? And I had one woman call me 5 times before we got a yes. And it turned out that, and it turned out it was during Mercury retrograde, of course. But what was funny about it was when Mercury retrograde was over, the 5th time she called me, she had managed to find all of the things that attracted her to the previous 4 places in one house.
She was not supposed to buy a house during Mercury retrograde.
No, but you see how it worked out? She researched it, and so she, at each point, she figured out some part of what that house was, that she liked about it, you see. She ended up finding it all in one place.
That's so cool. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it worked out in the end, but it took her a little while to get to the yes. You know?
Yeah. That's
it's worth it to buy the right house, right?
Yes, it is. Oh my gosh.
It's really worth it. Yeah.
I wish I would have called and asked you if I should buy this Suburban that I just bought when I bought it.
Oh, yeah. That's a good thing.
I pretty much guarantee what you would have said. Well, This has been a wonderful interview, and I just adore you, and I'm such a big fan, and I know you will be my advisor forever.
Oh,
And,
thank you.
yeah, I'm so jazzed for finding you, and I love to turn people on to really good. I hate to call you a product because you're not a product, but this book is a product, and then
Yeah.
you're the creator of that. So,
And if I could just interject, you know, the real value of the Good Timing Guide is knowing a good time to start something important and when not to do something important.
yeah,
Because you'll find both of those times in the book. And the reason the newsletter is valuable is because the guide will only show you kind of a yes or no kind of answer to, right? But the
yeah,
newsletter will tell you the specifics of why that
why it
day,
matters.
yeah, what's happening that at that time and how you can best use those energies to move forward.
Yeah,
And what
you
to
know,
watch for.
yeah,
Right,
right.
what to watch for, yeah.
That yeah, even this summit was chosen via the starting date was chosen via you and the Good Timing Guys.
Yes, right.
And, you know,
Yes.
so even this summit, that's how much I revere your work. So
Well, thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for the interview, and I am just thrilled that we've connected, and I'm so thrilled these viewers are going to get a chance to try the Good Time Guide on their own, and by all means, I hope you connect with Madeline because she's just simply fabulous.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank
And
you so much.
happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Well, Happy New Year, isn't that the truth? Thank you.
Okay.